Hello and welcome to Script and Pencils. This is the Comic Creator Interview Podcast from the Comic Crush. Today I am extremely lucky to be joined by the writing team of Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad and the amazing artist Jorge Corona. We are here to talk about Batgirls, which will be out, I think, roughly 1 week from the date that this interview goes out. So you can look forward to that. We'll be talking about it a lot on the site and on the socials. So do keep track of us there at the Comic Crush on Twitter and Instagram, and on Facebook you can find us too. Guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat to us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great to see you all creators that whose work I've seen and loved before. Not your first rodeo with the Bat family though, for any of you, I believe. So, I mean, what Becky and Michael, what keeps you coming back to these characters?
I love Gotham. I think it's one of those places you grew up with it, and so it feels like a real place. And when I'm writing stories that take place there, it's like, it feels like you're coming home to a place that you've been away from for a bit. So for me, there's like a level of comfort there. I like the themes. I like the oppressive, horrible city and the toxic gas that's always being read about. I don't know. There's something a lot of fun about it, and there's so much potential. So
yeah, I feel similar. Growing up being a fan of Batman and in all his various iterations, everything from the comic book to the TV show to the cartoons to the movies. It's just really neat to contribute to that ongoing and ever building mythology. So it's really a pleasure to be there.
I mean, in terms of writing together, you've just come off this sort of successful run on Wonder Woman, I believe. Is it a kind of easy collaboration, or do you sometimes kind of butt heads over plot points or characterization? I mean,
we fight all the time. We have to have 2 different rooms in the house where we can go to fight, so we're not at each other's throats. No, I'm just kidding. We have a great collaborative relationship. There is, like, I think with anything there is that push and pull, but we both want to tell the best story that we can. So none of us are, it all kind of comes out, and in each book there's a little bit of us in every page. And sometimes at the end, it's hard to remember who actually thought of what or who wrote what. It becomes this like collaborative effort where we're just trying to create the best book that we can. And having Michael along is great for that.
Yeah, it's like living with your best friend. Like many people, when they go to university or whatever, they end up living with somebody that they've been friends with throughout their childhood, and you discover different things about someone when you're living with them. And similarly, when writing together, you discover certain strengths and weaknesses in yourself and in your work, and that can be painful. And sometimes it's like you end up blaming the other person, saying, "Oh, you don't see my vision." But ultimately, like Becky's right. Like what ends up coming out is an amalgam of our 2 sensibilities. That oftentimes I'll say, "Hey, I really like this line," and Becky will say, "Oh, I think you wrote that one." And I'll be like, "Oh, no wonder why I like it. It's just as I would have written it."
Jorge, I mean, the style you've employed for this book is extremely dynamic, and it's kind of bursting with this very youthful energy. Do you try and change the approach for each book that you go into? Or is it something where you feel you've got your own style, like the Jorge Corona style is down and you're cool with that, or is it something you try and change for each according to each story?
No, it's definitely I do try to adapt a little bit my style to whatever the project is about, because not every book is going to be the same, and not every book is going to have the same undertone to it. And for this one, I can definitely say that it's an accumulation of a lot of like things that I've been trying recently in other projects, and like things that I've picked up that I like, and they have kind of like all come together here in Batgirls. And yeah, it's just trying to figure out like a visual language for the project that I'm working on, and this one is a very kinetic book. It's a very animated book, and that's kind of like how how I approach it when I started doing the art for it.
And in terms of this stripped back, very kind of almost demilitarized, and not technologically backward, but in a way it is technologically backward. But in terms of that approach, with the kind of loss of all the toys and things that the Bat family would normally imply, Michael and Becky, what kind of spawned that? Where did that come from?
Our series kind of starts on the back of Fear State. And so we kind of when we came into the series and Gotham, we ended up in a bunch of group meetings with the rest of the Gotham team, kind of hearing what they were doing when they were just starting Fear State. So we kind of knew what the situation in Gotham would be like as the Batgirls kind of came together. So some of it was born out of that. It seemed like a good place to start them as a team, kind of building this new book from the ground up, which is like how they're kind of having to rebuild their lives after the clock tower got destroyed. It seemed like a logical place to start, like throw them in kind of on the deep end, because we know that they can take it. We know they can all swim. So
it's good to if you have them show up with all this fancy technology, then sometimes that can become a burden later on when telling stories. It'll be like, oh, why didn't they just use that device that they used in issue 3 that seemed to really help out in that circumstance? So
why didn't they just call the Eagles?
Yeah, like in Lord of the Rings, famously, people like to complain about that, and we'll give people stuff to complain about, for sure.
I'm not sure you will. It's a good book.
Hopefully, the thing that they complain about will not be.
Hopefully, it'll be that they want more pages or they want more issues.
That'll be the thing that we want more Batgirl. Yeah, that's them complaining. I can hear them now. We want more of this. Make sure Michael's cool lines end up in there. We love that line he wrote.
Because they know, they'll specifically know it's you, right?
I got a certain je ne sais quoi. You know when it's me on the page.
You look at the first letter on the line, it spells his name. So that's dialects.
Trying to be somebody.
So Jorge, what sort of challenges does that sort of stripped back approach present art-wise? I mean, I bet it's fun to draw all the toys and the cars and things. I mean, obviously you do get to draw some nice vehicles in this, but is that an approach you like, kind of stripping it back? And
yeah, no, it actually kind of suits me pretty well, because I like more chunky technology than actual like streamlined, fancy iMac technology. So like having them stripped of like the fancy toys and having to figure out how to like put together stuff, it's really fun to draw, because then you get to be more creative into kind of like what different parts you can put there that people can recognize and stuff. So no, that's been actually a lot of fun to step outside the box and kind of like figure out what the toys are looking like on a more low tech level.
And of course you get to draw Vespers in this particular issue, which I don't know how much fun that was, but certainly one of the most iconic pieces of vehicle design out there. I've got to ask, guys, what first for Becky and Michael, what are your influences? Like, who are your influences when you're writing? Do you have particular writers, whether they're in comics or novels or other mediums, that you kind of go to and refer back to in terms of just a kind of almost spiritual energy, like, you know, just to kind of that give you that boost if you're having a hard time getting the stuff out? Or
Ooh, that's a good question. For art, it's so much easier for me to name influences.
Right.
With writing, it really depends on what I'm writing. With the monthly books, you know, that we write together, there's such a fast pace. You know, so much has to be done in these 20 pages. So it's almost like you're trying to be as economic as possible. And I've been lucky enough to work with some great writers as an artist. So I think my approach to writing monthly scripts kind of came out of that. And yeah, I don't know. I think for prose it might be different, but as far as a monthly book goes, there's nothing quite like it. It's a lot of problem solving, and there's almost nothing that you can read that will like prepare you for the kind of work you're going to have to do on a monthly book, you know?
For me, I've been a Grant Morrison fan for most of my life, and so that influence is omnipresent in everything that I do. I just love Grant's work. For prose stuff, I love David Foster Wallace, particularly his essays. I just the way that David Foster Wallace was able to capture a very human voice in something that was often quite scholarly, really spoke to me. And oftentimes that's kind of what we hope to do in comics, is to present these big ideas in a way that's fun, that involves kicking and punching and girls wearing bizarre costumes and driving strange vehicles.
Well, I mean, I've got to say, like, you do really get a good sense of the characterization in the book, because it's there in the look that Jorge's created, and it's definitely there in the sort of stoicism of Cass, and the kind of more fun-loving sort of energy of Steph, and of course Bab's kind of exasperation. So I mean, like, you've really got humanity in there, and I certainly applaud it for that.
That's really that's all Becky. I gave it a good go. They were a bunch of sock puppets speaking to each other, and then Becky was able to fix it. So that's that's part of that's big.
I tinker. The characters are all there. You know, there's so much great books with these characters in it that for us, this series is about like digging deeper into who they are and finding out who they are for this story. Where do they start? How do they change along the way? How do they change each other? And where do we take them? Like, where do we want them to go? So a lot of that is like long-term thinking, you know, keeping your eyes like on the horizon, but never losing track of like the good stuff, that there's like so much there to chew on, you know, and they're so fun to write together. They kind of, it's so cheesy to say like, oh, the characters like speak for me, blah, blah, blah. But it's really kind of true.
Yeah.
You know, they really just, you can just hear like anytime if Steph says something, it's like in my head. And then Cass's like response is like, oh yeah, of course that's what she says. It's like they're speaking, you can hear it. It's
Does it
being fans of these characters, we've had their voices in our heads for years. So now to be able to take that voice, run it down the arms, into the hands, into the computer, and then over to Jorge to make it real, it's a beautiful thing. It's easy.
And sorry, Jorge, I will come back to you in a second. I do apologize.
I want to say one more thing too. Having Jorge doing the art, it's like I can see, like, when I'm writing it, I'll picture the kind of expression that he's going to draw in my head. Like, it's so great to work with someone who's like on the same page, because it just makes me like, it makes our job easier to be like, oh, this is how he's like, I can see him drawing this, and then he'll come back with the page, and it's like, yes, that's exactly what I thought he was going to do. It's amazing.
And would you say that Becky, that Steph is more you and Cass is more Michael? I mean, just getting a vibe from you both now.
Yeah, Michael's all he's like taciturn and
I'm like Cass if Cass spoke more.
yeah, but he does speak a lot more. So that's actually true.
And it's great that you pick it up on so much of the legacy and origins of these characters as well, because they really, I do genuinely mean it when I say that they are among my favorites. You know, I'm a big Bat fan and certainly loved all the early years of those guys coming in. Jorge, I've got to ask you, in terms of how dynamic the book is, and is it a fast draw?
A fast
draw? Like, is it something that you can, you know, you really kind of get lost in, and you've kind of drawn more than you've realized? It seems like it's done quite feverishly, and
yeah, no, I think that's that may be the inking, but I do get lost in it because it has Becky and Michael have created like this already very rich world in this book, and just trying to actually translate everything that they give me, and then just like making it work on a page. Then I really want to like kind of like almost nail down every detail. So like I wouldn't say fast because I do get lost too much in it, and then it's like so many details in some stuff. But is that like this, the scripts are so much fun to read that I definitely want to translate that into once you see the final page, because there's so many like notes and descriptions that obviously like someone who's reading the comic is never going to read, because it's just going to be the dialogue that I want to take that energy that I get from you guys and then just like put it in the visual aspect of the book, and hopefully that comes through. And yeah, the feverish thing is just I like messy inking. And I think it works for this book, but I think it's just that. It's the fact that, you know, these are characters that are not very static. Like everything is happening, and especially this first few issues, so many things are happening to their lives that is like it actually fits pretty well with how I like to ink books and just kind of like that that rush all the time.
I mean, I love the way also that you guys have all kind of got together and created this sort of beautiful comic timing in the book. I think you use that to exceptional effect. Is there ever a risk that, because I think there is an inherent humor in stoic Batman versus sort of youthful energy kind of, you know, Steph and Cass and even to a certain extent Babs and Dick and characters like that. Is there a danger that it starts to tip over too far into comedy, or is that something that you guys can always keep in check? I mean, I think it's the perfect amount in this issue that I've read, and you know, I think it's wonderful. But is there ever a danger that it becomes too much in a way, or is that something you're quite guarded against?
It can be a concern. You know, we don't want the book to read as fluff, and we don't want the stakes to be kind of overlooked because there's humor in there. We want it to be as life is. Life is full of funny and weird and bizarre and scary moments. So we're trying to tie all those things in together. There's room in Batman and in the surrounding Gotham titles for humor. It's always been there. So yeah, it is a bit of a concern, but if we continue to thread the needle just right, hopefully people will see these are funny characters in a really unfunny neighborhood, right, fighting against really unfunny and serious threats to them. They're all survivors of trauma, of various types of trauma, and you know, humor is often a coping mechanism. So hopefully we're able to capture that and not go too far into that deep end of comedy.
That's kind of where our editor Jessica Chen comes in. I think there's times when we'll write in the script when we hand it off to her, like a little note in red, like, is this too much? Like, did we go too far? And she'll like, say like, no, this is perfect. Like, this is totally like exactly what we want. So it's nice to know that we have someone at the helm who's kind of steering everything in a direction that feels good. Especially when you get too close to something, you know, sometimes it's hard to see the big picture. Jessica's great at seeing how everything's going to fit together. Also, I think comedy and horror, in a way, they have so much in common. The fact that it's like this build and then release attention in different ways. And so I think there's ways to incorporate comedy in a way that will just add to the tension of what we're doing. You know, and these, you know, they're all friends. So it's like, of course you're going to joke around, even if, you know, maybe some weird stuff is going on.
and Jorge, I mean, is there anything in the kind of Bat universe? I mean, I'm sure there is, that you haven't drawn yet that you really want to kind of get to, because I mean, these are great characters, and you know, I know you've done, you know, We Are Robins and lots of other stuff. And is there anything else that I mean, I'm sure there's loads of things you want to draw, but I mean, anything in this particular kind of world of Gotham that you're really keen to get to?
Yeah, I've been lucky that I've managed to do a little bit of every aspect of Gotham, just a tiny bit. I think I'm excited, and I don't want to spoil too much of what we're gonna do in a few issues, but like I'm excited that most of the stuff that I've done with the Bat family has been like almost a little bit more the grounded and the fighting and kind of more towards that, more towards like the city, but like there's gonna be some opportunities to go a little bit more into the scary side. Again, I don't want to give too much of what's
sure,
but definitely more of the what makes the Batman villains and the gallery, the rogue gallery of Batman kind of terrifying, not just like threatening, but also scary, like in a more emotional and psychological level. And I think that's what I'm looking for. It's not something that I've dealt with too much. Maybe a little bit in We Are Robin with the Court of Owls, but definitely we're gonna have some issues here that is just like a little bit more surreal, and I like that. I'm looking forward to that. I feel like that's the beauty of Gotham and all the characters that inhabit it, is like you have so much room to do different things that it doesn't have to be just one approach, and yeah, it's just fun to explore all those different things.
Fantastic. And guys, just finally, I do want to give a quick mention to you talked about Jessica Chen on editing there, and you know, obviously you got Ben Abernathy there as well as the Bat Group editor. I always enjoy books that Jess and Ben work on, because I find whenever I see their names, it's like, oh yeah, I know they're going to put together or kind of helping out and working with a great team on this. And I know you guys are working with Sarah Stern on colors for the book, which are terrific, and Becca Carey on letters. How have you found working with those guys on this?
Well, Jorge's not. You've worked with Sarah before, and when
Sarah and I actually go way back. We're friends from college, and we always wanted to work together in a book, and we had the opportunity to work on like various covers for the last, I want to say, year and a half or something like that, but we never had the opportunity to work on a sequential pages. And once we started talking, Jessica brought us together to kind of like start talking about Batgirls. Like I immediately thought of Sarah for the colors, just because I knew she would, like, she has a very distinct approach to colors that I knew would fit this book. And like, again, after talking to the team, after talking to Jessica, Becky, and Michael, and seeing where the influences for this book were coming from, I I knew exactly because like I actually share a studio with Sarah and a couple other friends.
Oh, great.
So I know what we're into, and I was like, oh, you're gonna love this because it's everything that we love. So like, yeah, no, it's been great working with her on this book. And in lettering, like I think Michael, you were saying this yesterday, but it's just like it's just beautiful how it has merged with the art, and it also has its own personality, and how kind of like it all came together at the end. It's just like it's just a beautiful package at the end.
Yeah.
That everyone
Carey is a genius.
Yeah.
We give her really thick, wordy scripts and very busy pages with a lot going on. And we're like, oh, and everyone's got their cool font, and we want these.
They got different colors, and then you throw on these colored pages where everything's like a neon. She's able to somehow make it work. She's
great. Everyone's firing on all cylinders. It really is a collaborative effort. Every single piece gets looked at and picked apart and really worked and refined to be the best book that we can create.
It's great. I mean, and it's clearly a great team because it was such a good book and such a terrific read. And I want to thank you for letting me take an early look at it. And just want to say to the audience, do go out and grab this book. It is absolutely fantastic and a really great kind of continuation of all the stuff that was happening in Fear State and a great kind of grounding for these characters. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a genuine honor to be able to speak to you. I love your work and thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And obviously do give us a shout if you want to talk to us again about any projects. We'd love to have you back. It's been great fun talking to you today, and good luck with the book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Thanks. And guys, you can find all the information for Jorge, Michael, and Becky, including the Mystery School Comics shop and all that stuff in the description below. So do take a look and make sure you're following them because there's great stuff happening there as well as the stuff they're doing for DC. Thanks, guys. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks again.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.